the sacred and the profane.
They say The Sopranos was television's most intelligent show. So why does its main character write like a fifth grader on NyQuil? There are few documents in television history as exquisitely awful as Tony Soprano's apology letter to Dr. Melfi.
I've been thinking, and I apologize for my use of foul language. Fowl with a W.
It is a triumph of the illiterate ego, a linguistic car crash so perfectly in character that it borders on poetry. I've been thinking, and I apologize for my use of foul language in regards to yourself, he writes, earnestly mangling syntax and self-awareness in a single breath.
That I still have great regard for you, even though you said some horrible things. P.S. I'm doing fine, and...
By the time he concludes with the immortal line, P.S. I'm doing fine, the letter has achieved something rare. It reveals Tony's soul more honestly than anything he says in therapy. The genius of this scene lies not in the apology itself, but in how spectacularly Tony fails at it. His attempt to sound formal, using in regards to twice, of which I am sure you know that I'm talking about, and a careful evasion of the actual word he's apologizing for, feels like a man trying to wear a tuxedo over a tracksuit. It's an effort to perform intellect, to prove civility, and yet every word betrays his lack of both.
In regards to myself, but it is still no excuse to use the vile word that I used.
The vile word he used is never named, because naming it would mean confronting his behavior. Instead, the letter circles around shame like a mobster around a wiretap, never directly engaging, always hedging. It's not that Tony Soprano is incapable of articulacy. When he isn't pretending to be someone else, he expresses himself quite clearly.
I had a semester and a half of college.
He can talk philosophy, history, and psychology, up to the point where doing so threatens his sense of superiority. This letter, however, is Tony performing an apology the same way he performs legitimacy, clumsily, through imitation. He wants to appear contrite, but he doesn't understand what contrition sounds like, so he fakes it in the language of what he imagines a respectable man would write. The result is magnificent. The sentence construction is tortured, the spelling, foul, regard, comically off, and the tone, a mixture of self-pity and passive aggression, painfully authentic. It's the written equivalent of Tony putting on reading glasses to look at a menu. The intent is gravitas. The effect is parody. Beneath the farce lies something darker. Tony's inability to apologize sincerely isn't merely ignorance, it's pathology. He's never learned to say, "I'm sorry," without simultaneously asserting dominance. The letter isn't an admission of guilt, it's a diplomatic communique between the wounded party, himself, and the ungrateful recipient, Melfi. Twice, he emphasizes how hurtful her words were to himself, as though she were the offender. His apology is a weapon disguised as remorse, a polite reprimand delivered under the banner of civility.
Someday, I hope you have children of your own, and they treat you like this.
One might trace this emotional illiteracy directly to Livia Soprano, the show's reigning queen of manipulation. Tony's mother, the master of victimhood as power, never wanted apologies. She wanted groveling. To say sorry to Livia was to kneel before her. Genuine regret had no currency in that household. Submission did. Small wonder Tony grew into a man who treats remorse as a performance. His letter reads like something Livia herself might have written, a poisonous blend of faux courtesy and repressed rage. "You said some hurtful things to me in regards to myself," could easily come from her mouth, delivered between threats with a meat fork.
My dad was tough. He ran his own crew.
That's the brilliance of The Sopranos. The characters inherit their parents' dysfunctions like family heirlooms. Tony's failure to apologize is not an isolated quirk, but a generational echo. His foul language is less about vocabulary and more about emotional plumage, a desperate attempt to look human while remaining a predator. The man is fluent in violence, yet illiterate in vulnerability. The spelling errors, foul, regard, in regards to, aren't just jokes about his education. They reveal the tension between Tony's two selves, the street boss who thrives on instinct and the aspirant intellectual who reads Sun Tzu because someone told him it's what leaders do. He understands the idea of intellect, but not its practice. He knows Freud as a word, not as a framework.
No offense, John, but I got an IQ of 136.
When he says he has an IQ of 136, It's been tested. It's less a fact than a superstition. Intelligence, for Tony, is another badge of authority, not a tool of introspection. What makes this scene particularly funny is that the writing is just barely bad enough to be believable. It's not the absurd misspelling of a sitcom buffoon. It's the kind of semi-literate pomposity one sees in an amateur legal brief or a self-important workplace email. Those who have ever read the pro se filings of self-styled sovereign citizens will recognize the rhythm. Overwrought formality, irrelevant precision, and a complete inability to express a coherent idea. It's the language of someone who believes big words make them sound credible. This is Tony Soprano trying to speak like a man who matters. And in that attempt, he exposes his deepest insecurity, that he doesn't. For all his dominance, Tony is acutely aware of the intellectual class he cannot touch. The doctors, professors, and analysts who define value through vocabulary. He envies them even as he despises them. That resentment curdles into the syntax of this letter. His pseudo-formality isn't a show of respect to Melfi. It's a declaration of class war, written in fractured English.
Notice he still fundamentally blames me.
Melfi, for her part, understands the letter perfectly. Her horror isn't just at Tony's grammar. It's at the realization that this is his concept of intimacy. He's reaching out in his way, and what comes out is a bureaucratic tantrum. She's right to recoil. The apology is supposed to humanize him, but it does the opposite. It exposes the depth of his arrested development.
I crossed the line. I apologize.
Beneath the veneer of reason lies the same child who used sorry as a bribe to stop his mother's rage. It's easy to laugh at Tony's linguistic failings. Foul language has become a meme-worthy phrase, but the humor masks tragedy.
They pay out millions of dollars every day to doctors.
Tony's problem isn't stupidity. He's smart enough to run a criminal empire, manipulate law enforcement, and navigate a complex network of loyalty and betrayal. What he lacks is emotional syntax. His words don't fail because he's dumb. They fail because he's never had to make them mean anything.
P.S. I'm doing fine, Anthony.
The letter's closing, "You don't wish us to be social friends, and so that is that. I still have great regard for you, even though you said some horrible things. P.S. I'm doing fine," is the perfect distillation of his psychology. The passive aggression, "and so that, is pure Livia. The self-congratulation, "I'm doing fine," is vintage Tony. He apologizes and congratulates himself in the same breath, as if moral growth were another checkbox on his to-do list between extortion and dinner. There's also a kind of tragicomedy in the earnestness of his effort. Somewhere inside that letter is a man genuinely trying to do the right thing, or at least to appear as if he is. But for Tony, sincerity and performance are indistinguishable. The harder he tries to sound human, the more robotic he becomes.
I suggest you drop the patient.
It's no wonder Melfi eventually abandons him. One can only interpret so many attempts at humanity that sound like deposition transcripts. The scene also operates as a broader satire of the show's universe. Everyone in The Sopranos is, to some extent, performing intelligence. From Christopher's tortured screenwriting attempts to Carmela's flirtation with art and literature, the entire ensemble is made up of people trying to sound smarter, deeper, or more cultured than they are.
Irregardless, I said my piece.
They misuse phrases, in regards to, irregardless, loyal, with such conviction that one almost admires the confidence.
I'm just saying how it is.
Within their world, status determines truth. The boss is right by definition, not by evidence. Intelligence, like everything else in their lives, is transactional. That's why Tony's letter feels authentic. It's not just bad writing, it's true writing. It reflects the pathology of a world where every act of communication is a negotiation for power. Even his syntax bullies the reader, forcing Melfi to wade through his self-justifications just to reach the faint outline of an apology. It's the linguistic equivalent of his therapy sessions, evasive, defensive, and exhausting.
No, the RICO statutes.
Oh, of course.
Some viewers have argued that the letter is too dumb for Tony, that his spelling errors are unrealistic for a man who reads the newspaper, and attended college for a semester and a half. But that's precisely the point. The letter isn't evidence of idiocy, it's evidence of anxiety. Tony isn't illiterate, he's performing literacy, and the performance collapses under its own weight. The more he tries to appear educated, the more he reveals the gulf between appearance and understanding. In regards to isn't a mistake of ignorance, it's a mistake of imitation.
Tony. He likes to talk the talk, I don't know.
And imitation is Tony's entire existence. His intelligence is adaptive, not reflective. He copies speech patterns, misuses references, and repackages ideas he's half heard from others. Like a comedian repeating someone else's joke, he gets the rhythm, but not the meaning. The writers of The Sopranos understood this perfectly. His verbal tics, the "I'm just saying," the "you know what I mean," the borrowed catchphrases, aren't filler. They're identity scaffolding for a man terrified of being ordinary. The show has always thrived on these moments of linguistic failure.
The sacred and the profane.
When Little Carmine speaks of the sacred and the propane, or Christopher confuses Marshall McLuhan with Marshall Mathers, the humor isn't cruelty, it's revelation. These men, dangerous and powerful, are also deeply stupid in the way only insecure people can be. They've mastered violence, but not thought, and yet, within their circles, they pass for geniuses. As one character quipped, Tony is the smartest man in 9 out of 10 rooms, but that says more about the rooms than about Tony. In the end, the letter stands as a miniature of the entire show, simultaneously funny, pathetic, and profound. It captures The Sopranos' central theme, that intelligence, civility, and decency are costumes we wear, and that underneath them, we remain the same clumsy, defensive primates, trying to survive shame. Tony Soprano's apology is not merely bad writing, it's a confession, written accidentally, of what he truly is, a man who can command armies, but not a sentence. Foul language indeed.
Those goddamn ducks.
A perfect metaphor for a man forever haunted by his ducks, his longing for control, family, and peace, and forever doomed to destroy them with his own hands. The letter is a farce of syntax, yes, but also a requiem for a man incapable of saying the one thing he most needs to mean, "I'm sorry." And so that is that. P.S. We're all doing fine. In regards to yourself, subscribe.